important, which basically means when the
All right, everyone, just as a reminder, why don't we go ahead and get started? Good afternoon, everyone. Just as a reminder, if you can please mute your microphones, we'll provide an opportunity afterwards to do a Q&A, and you can either unmute at that point or you can type your questions into the chat. So hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Well, as a reminder, just again, please mute your microphones. This meeting is being recorded and we'll share it with everyone afterwards for those who want to either look at the information that we shared again. We'll also share a PDF of the PowerPoint. And then for those who are unable to join us today as well. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Welcome to everyone from CUNY SPH, faculty, staff, as well as our guests from CUNY Central. We're discussing the upcoming plans for migration from our learning management system that we have currently, which is Blackboard, over to Brightspace. And we're going to talk to you about the timeline and resources and plans, and then you'll have opportunities for Q&A, and we're also going to do a live demo as well. So as far as the agenda, we'll do a quick introductions of the team here today. We'll provide an overview of the project, implementation timeline, and important dates. The process a little bit, discussing, how we're dealing with training, archiving, when things will be available to faculty, students, as well as training resources that are available both on demand as well as through live sessions. And also demo of the Brightspace LMS as well as next steps. And then, as I mentioned a few times, you'll have an opportunity for Q&A at the end as well. So I'm going to take this opportunity to also introduce myself. My name is Devinder Kaur. I'm the director of the Office of Online Learning here at SPH. I actually started with SPH in December of 2024, so fairly new still. And coming to you from a few private and public institutions such as Stony Brook University and Farmingdale State College, where I led that institution through the COVID-related closures for emergency online teaching, and also oversaw and helped with the migration from Blackboard over to Brightspace at Farmingdale. SUNY went through this some time ago, and so if I absolutely had to do it again, I'm so thrilled to be doing it with such a great team that we have at CUNY and all the resources and support they've provided us in that partnership. I'm also thrilled to be a part of SPH to provide professional development and program management for the administration of online programs that we have. And so you'll hear news coming out of our office related both to the migration as well as other projects that we have going on in the upcoming months. And I also wanted to take this opportunity. I don't know if they're on the screen or not, since I'm sharing my screen, but we have hired some college assistants, Ariani and Ambrosia, who will also be helping and responding to any support requests or questions that you submit. So it's going to be myself and a few others in the office that will be helping with this, specifically at CUNY SPH. So with that, I'm very pleased to also introduce our partners in success for this project, Evan and Laura, and I will now invite you both to introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here with you today. I really appreciate, Dee, the opportunity to join you and your colleagues and faculty for this discussion. My name is Evan. I'm the Chief Academic Technology Officer here at CUNY in Office of Academic Affairs, and I'll hand it over to my colleague, Laura.
Hello, I'm really excited to be here too. It's very exciting having a kickstart of a whole new group. Can't wait to show you some things about our new platform here that we're going to be doing our online courses in. So I have been functioning as the lead trainer in the transition. And I will tell you that I also am an adjunct on the side in my spare time for fun. So I can still fully relate to what instructors go through. So thank you so much for letting me be here today.
Thank you, Evan and Laura. So if at this point, can I please invite our SPH colleagues to introduce themselves in the chat? Please put in your name, your department, your online teaching experience in terms of years or courses. And if any of you have actually utilized Brightspace anywhere at any other institution, or if you teach at other CUNYs who have already migrated over, if you have any Brightspace experience. This is a great opportunity for us to learn more about you as well. All right, so as you do that, I am going to hand it off to Evan for the transition vision. And Evan, just let me know when you want me to progress to the next slide.
Sure. So, hey everyone. We have just, for background, as some of you may or may not know, we've been transitioning to Brightspace for about a year and a half now. We've done this transition in 4 sequential cohorts, and your group is the 4th and final cohort for this transition to Brightspace. And from very early on in this transition, we realized how important it was to have a clear focus for what we're trying to accomplish by moving to this really new, modern environment. And for us, what really resonated is this idea that we really want to build your expertise. And I have no doubt with Dee at the helm at your institution that you'll really gain great skills and capacity in using Brightspace towards a direct benefit of your student and optimizing their learning outcomes. And I know that's something we probably say a lot in education, optimizing student learning outcomes. But with Brightspace, I think you'll come to learn fairly quickly that it is built with some really robust tools to help enhance the teaching and learning experience, to really help improve and promote engagement with students towards giving our students the best learning experience that we can. So yeah, Dee, we can go ahead.
Sure.
Brightspace is one of the fastest growing learning management systems in higher education. It is, compared to Blackboard we've had for 20 years, it is a modern, comprehensive tool that is very intuitive. It's designed to be accessible, easy to learn. There's a robust community around it. It really does support our growth in all kinds of learning modalities and also especially online learning. It comes with a robust analytics package that helps give us a really clear lens into our students' learning experiences. And it provides, as I said earlier, a foundation for truly engaging teaching and learning that connects students with students, connects students with you, faculty, connects students to the institution. And that is so important when the classroom for many students is the point of contact for the college that they're enrolled in. We can go ahead to the next slide. Brightspace has a lot of benefits. These are some of those that are listed here. I'll highlight that it's one of the most accessible learning management platforms, and not accessible in terms of it's easy to log in and get access to, but in terms of accessibility. Brightspace has a global lead on accessibility, who's really at the forefront of the space. And we work very closely with her and the org D2L on ensuring that the platform meets rigorous accessibility standards. One of the other key features that comes with our purchase of Brightspace is 24/7, 365 support for anyone at CUNY who's using Brightspace. You can access Brightspace, as we'll talk about later, and via email, phone, chat, and you can get help with it as a student, as an instructor, as an administrator, really anytime. And so this doesn't replace the work that your campus will be doing to support you. It does enhance the support because it provides you and your students answers to questions when perhaps it's an off-peak period of time. And so there are a lot of other really great strengths of the system, but you'll see those as we go into the demonstration today. So I think let's move to the next slide.
Sure. So as far as the migration overview, we'll talk to you a little bit about the timeline, processes, and resources that are available. Here you see a very high-level timeline in terms of important dates that we've split up among the spring, summer, and fall semesters that we're coming into now. And so right now, we're really kind of setting up the environment on the back end. So there's work going on even right now as far as branding, as far as logo, colors, everything like that. So when you and your students log in, you're going to see CUNY SPH branding rather than Brightspace branding. If you notice when you log into Blackboard, it's very Blackboard branded. It's going to be completely different in terms of the look and feel of this particular LMS. We will provide you with the resources for training, both on demand and live sessions. An email went out last week that actually had a lot of those links, but we'll reiterate a lot of those resources here in the chat. As well as web pages that are offered through CUNY on the transition webpage. And we have our own SPH Brightspace webpage as well that has a lot of that information. And we'll continuously update that as we go through this process. You'll also have, you'll notice that some of you might start to even have access right now to Brightspace, and we'll show you a little bit about how to access it, log in during the demo later. And students, in terms of access to the new LMS, will start to have access in April of this year. And so they'll start to be able to log in. There'll be trainings and opportunities for them to get acclimated. I think from other campuses that have gone through this experience already, students acclimate very quickly to this LMS. It's very user-friendly in terms of the interface, in terms of all the features. Students love the mobile app as well, so they can get that on the go updates and alerts and things like that. So, we're not too worried about the students, but the resources and support is there for them as well. And as far as really important date for go live, the summer semester, once it starts, will be taught in Brightspace. So starting the summer semester and going forward, all courses will be taught in Brightspace. So that's really important to note that. And then what's going to happen is throughout the fall semester, we'll talk to you about archiving of the Blackboard content and data. And Blackboard will be sunsetted in December. I believe the date exactly is December 18th. But by December, you want to make sure that if there's any other content that you want to download or save, that's course content that you've used or you want to save, you really need to do that before December, because after that date, you will not have access to Blackboard. Evan, did I miss anything on the archiving or on the sunset date for Blackboard on that?
You didn't. I know we'll talk about course migration
Yes.
in a minute.
Yes.
We do want to underscore something you said that we've learned in 3 transition groups. For the students, this is a really smooth transition. We've heard very little feedback, if any, about students having challenges adopting to Brightspace. And to answer the question in the chat, if you are using Blackboard in the ACE community, this timeline does apply to you as well.
Okay, great. Now, as far as training resources, I just want to provide very high level of what was already shared in the email, and we'll continue to share it with you all. There are a mix of trainings that you can attend, so you can do the live trainings, and the sessions for that are posted. The link is directly to the CUNY website, but those training dates go on all throughout the spring semester, so you can sign up for as many or as little as you want. They're very specific to Brightspace essentials, getting started in Brightspace, all the way to very specific things such as gradebook and setting up your gradebook. There are also on-demand sessions. There's a dedicated YouTube channel with videos. A lot of these things already recorded, so you can go back and review them and view them as many times as you need to, just for a refresher. We'll also start to roll out specific SPH related training sessions as soon as we have our environment set up and ready to go. So we'll start to share more as they change, as we have more available with you all via the email, via communications channel, also through our webpage. And so, like I said, you can do a mix of these. You can do all of these, whatever is really helpful to you. And there's a lot of resources also through D2L, which is the parent company of Brightspace. So there's a lot of resources that they have curated, and so you can definitely go on to their website, and there's topics that are specific just to higher ed that you can start perusing through. And as Evan mentioned, there's 24-hour, 7 days a week live support. And I'll share that number with you again towards the end of this, as well as once you log into your environment, a chat bot that's available as well. So we'll show you all of this. We'll share this again with you all, and then continue to share it with you all as we go through this process. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Laura on preparing your courses for migration.
Yeah, thank you so much. And before I even get into this, I just want to take a moment to address everyone in the room that yes, it's February and we're looking at maybe sometime in May that you would start teaching in Brightspace. But a metaphor that Evan has used before that I really, really like, and people always ask, like, how am I going to handle this transition from Blackboard? It's all I've ever known to Brightspace. Imagine it like you're just moving houses. And you know that your old house had like 2 bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen, all that stuff. Good news is new house has all that stuff too. It's just like you have to learn where the light switches are. It's really that simple. You already have the skills to master Brightspace. It's just some little fine details and getting the hang of where things are located to click on. So please rest assured that you have tons of support here and you will absolutely be able to handle the transition. So that said, talking about getting your courses ready for migration, there is a Brightspace faculty checklist that's going to be attached as a PDF. When I go and take over the screen in a little bit to do a demo, I will quickly show you what that looks like, just so you know what to look out for. It's advisable that you look at all of your courses before they get migrated over to double check your links and your documents. We all know that sometimes links can get broken over time, and you want to make sure that those are robust and up to date so that when it gets migrated over, there's less editing for you to do, less to do to get ready. Next screen, please. So working with migrated courses, we get people who ask all the time, what does it look like when it comes over? So don't worry, it's not going to look completely inside out. We do have a faculty guide about working with migrated courses in Brightspace. We have a step-by-step instruction set as well, in case you are someone who wants to migrate it yourself. And if you're thinking right now, why would I do that? You know, we're under the understanding that 4 years of courses are being migrated for you on your behalf. But if you are sitting in this room right now thinking about a course that you want that is currently in Blackboard and you're worried it's outside of that 4 years, we have a great step-by-step instructions for how to migrate it over yourself. There are lots of resources at SPH to also help you to do like a one-on-one Zoom and make sure that you feel confident doing those. And then we will talk about like reorganizing your content when it gets migrated over. So one of our workshops that we've been offering through OAA is called ABCs of Content. And that kind of takes a good look at, what am I going to need to do to my course when it comes over? And it walks you through some of the basics of how you might need to move your modules around. Sometimes something gets created in the migration process that can simply be deleted and it's no big deal. And once again, checking all of your links and your third-party tools. So it's a lot of housekeeping. It's nothing super serious. Configuring the gradebook isn't really complicated, but for those that feel anxious about that, we do have a workshop for 1 hour exclusively on the gradebook, and we have a recorded version of that as well. So you can kind of look through it bit by bit. So there's lots of options there. Next slide, please. So when you first go into Brightspace, how you're going to get there is similar to any of the other tools with CUNY that you have to first sign into CUNY first. So like anytime you're going to Zoom and you have to sign into CUNY first. Dropbox is another example. You would first go to https://brightspace.cuny.edu, which is going to take you to the sign-in you see on the slide here. And it's very simple, as you're used to doing: your first name, last name, last 2 digits of your EMPL ID at login.cuny.edu. And that's going to take you in. And I think at this point, I'm doing the demo.
Yes. I'm going to stop sharing and you can take over.
Great. Thank you. All right. So let's get into it. So really quick, I did want to share just what you're going to be seeing about that getting started with Brightspace faculty checklist. You will see this. It's pretty simple, just kind of gives you an overview of some of the things that I just discussed already. Nothing really to worry about here. Moving on, let's look at what actually, before I go into Brightspace, I did also want to show you, and I know that this has already been referenced before, but if somebody could please drop into the chat the link to the LMS transition page, because I just want to kind of piggyback on that comment of there is a YouTube channel, you'll see right here, LMS transition YouTube channel that has all of our recordings from previously done workshops. a list of all of the workshops that we offer and what's covered under them, as well as all the upcoming days and times and topics, including some Ask Me Anything sessions where you can come and just ask a specific question of something that's got you stumped, even some evening sessions for those of you that are going to have a hard time making the daytime ones. Lots of options here. And the other thing I want to point out, where I mentioned before about the how to migrate it yourself, on that LMS transition page towards the bottom, you'll see this transition document hub, and we see Blackboard to Brightspace manual course migration guide. And it's just as simple as you click on that, and it's step-by-step instructions for moving a course from Blackboard to Brightspace. So all that said, let me now go into the demo. Now, this could be what you could see coming into Brightspace if SPH is the only school you are associated with here at CUNY. It is possible you will have a slightly different view if you have associations with more than one school. And if you're asking yourself, what do you mean by that? So if I come here to the little house in the corner and I click on it, it's taking me to my regular landing page when I come into CUNY Brightspace, because it's expected that I can kind of on a high level help anyone at any school. So I have this generic CUNY Brightspace landing page without the SPH branding and colors. And then down here, I have a CUNY Colleges widget where I would be picking where I'm trying to go. So bear in mind, if you just have the one association, then you would just be coming straight into the CUNY School Public Health landing page for Brightspace. So this gives you kind of an idea of what you could expect to see with the nav bar going across the top here. That's going to have some of your main tools and things to access. I'm just going to do a really quick overview of some of the different features of the landing page, and then looking inside a course, what that looks like, because I do want to be mindful of the time and not run away with it too much to leave space for questions at the end. So let me just show you the landing page here for SPH. You could expect to see a My Courses widget that is divided up by terms. We're also looking at having like your compliance courses that you have to take here, looking into maybe organizations. There's still some development taking place in this area. You notice how it says pinned. And remember how we talked about you're moving houses and you just have to figure out where the light switches are. So you remember in Blackboard, you could favorite a course to make it easier to get to. The version of that in Brightspace is pinning something. So what you would do is come up here to the very top. These icons at the top, when you first come into Brightspace, are referred to as the mini nav bar. They are static no matter where you are in Brightspace. They'll always be here at the top. So this thing that looks sort of like a Rubik's Cube or a waffle iron is the course picker button. And when I click on that, that's going to then drop down and show at the very top everything you've pinned, which is just as simple as coming over and clicking on a little thumbtack here to color it in. And it will keep it aggregated at the top of the course picker. Or you see there's a category here called pinned, which you can click on and takes you straight to everything that you pinned that you know you need to go to more than once. So that's something to get the hang of, but it works. We have a button here that looks like an envelope, which would make sense for email. But I would say email is a little different in Brightspace. We get into that in more detail in our workshop called Engaging Learners. So I would encourage you to either attend Engaging Learners or watch our recording on our YouTube channel to get into it more. This right here, subscription alerts, looks like little dialogue bubbles, is just going to kind of let you know if you have subscribed to something. Like, for example, in my own courses, I tend to create an Ask the Instructor discussion board, and I subscribe to it, which says to Brightspace, hey, let me know when somebody posts something on there so that I can respond to it faster. So you would get a little subscription alert here. Any kind of alert is going to be this little orange dot. Update alerts is just going to be referring to anything that's been changing in your course, if you change some dates or things like that. Just pointing out really quick here, in the corner where you would see your name, and might not have a picture if you haven't put one in yet, but you can come right here to go to profile, and that is going to show you whatever you want to list about yourself, including adding a picture, or because I already have one, it's saying change picture. So that is an option. Another quick thing to point out, notifications. I just want to clarify that with regards to notifications in Brightspace, when you go there, these are user-specific notifications, meaning anything you come in here and check, like, oh yeah, activity feed, send me an email, announcement, send me an email. That's just for you. It's not going to affect your students. Your students have that same feature that they can go to update whatever notifications they want. It is my understanding that these two will be the default as checked for students, that they will receive emails for announcements and new announcements. But that said, they could still go into notification and uncheck it if they wanted to. So just to clarify about that. Account settings, just something else really quick to point out, is where you can go and include pronouns. You can change the font size for yourself. It does not affect your students' experience. This is just for you. Various other settings as well. But now I want to flip on over to showing you what a course
I'm
looks
on
like.
mute. What?
Pardon me? Okay, so I'm going to switch over and show you a demo course here that I've been working in for a lot of my workshops that I do online. So we're kind of stepping away from the SPH branding and colors and all that stuff right now, just to show you what it can look like. So each school has kind of a different setup on the nav bar inside courses for instructors. This is how I set it up for myself. The thing you're going to want to be aware of first, right off the bat, is where is course admin inside your course. When I come here to course admin, that is going to list all of the tools that I have access to as an instructor and might be using in my course. So that's one way you can always access things. But let's come up here to content and take a peek at what is this going to look like for a student. So we would come here into content, and then we can see table of contents on the left side vertical menu. If I click on that, that is going to open up all of my modules that I've listed on the left side vertical menu and all of the content inside each module. Now, when we talked at the beginning about this idea of like light switches with different houses, some of the thing that you have to get used to is the different terminology that Brightspace uses. So they talk about topics as being items of content inside a module. So let's just show what this looks like. If I'm looking on the left side vertical menu and I'm looking at all my modules and I'm thinking like, oh, I need to add a module here for, let's make it final exam review. So all you have to do is click right here where it says add a module. One thing you're going to want to be very alert to as you start getting the hang of Brightspace is watch your cursor's behavior. Do you see how it's an arrow right now? When I move over this, it becomes a little pointing hand. And there's even kind of a color change. That is Brightspace telling you, you could click here and things will happen. So I can click here. I can say final exam review. I click anywhere outside of this box, and all of a sudden that new module I just created springs to life and it's all set to be populated. And again, I'm just going to kind of give you a high level overview to save space for questions at the end, but bear in mind, ABCs of content will kind of give you a deeper dive into what I'm doing here. And that's where you can choose to edit the title of your module if you've changed your mind about it. You can add dates and restrictions. And once again, watch how my cursor changes from an arrow to a little pointy hand. And when I click on it, it allows me to add a start date if I want, add a due date if I want, an end date if I wanted to disappear at a certain point. You might be saying, well, how do I add things into my module? That's great. We see how to create one. We would come here to upload create. That's right underneath our brand new module we just created. And that's where you can upload files, video or audio, create a file, create a link. In fact, if we come here to create a file, you'll notice that for your convenience, there are several different types of templates that you can work with as well, just to kind of streamline your course building process here. So you could choose, oh, I want to do a meet your facilitator module perhaps. And that gives you like this template here to just automatically populate it. Super easy. You can click right into it and edit it. But let's show you some more here. So we've got these options under Upload Create. You can create a new assignment right here after you've created the title for your module, or a discussion board or a quiz. You can do all those here. Survey, all of those can be done. You can also come to existing activities, and that's where you can have it connect to assignments that already exist. And if you're thinking like, wait, already exist? So bear in mind, I've played around a lot in this workshop, and this pretend course has a lot of stuff in it. So if I come up here on the nav bar to assignments, I do have assignments that I've been playing around with. And if you're thinking, well, then how do we put that in a module? I want to add something in this module. We would come to existing activities, to assignments, because it already exists. And you might say to yourself, oh, I want to have this added into this module. And there you go. It immediately creates a little link that takes the students right to the spot where this assignment is existing. There's also the option to bulk edit, to make changes across multiple pieces of content in your module. So that is an option as well. I do want to also point out, people have asked before about like submodules. You can certainly add submodules if you feel that's appropriate. You would just click here to add a submodule. Submodule goes here, and then click outside of that. And now, once again, those buttons that I just showed you, upload, create, existing activities, have just replicated themselves down here. And you can, of course, go ahead and change the name if you want, if you feel like that. You can move things around very easily here in Brightspace. When you're looking on the left side vertical menu in content, and you scroll around, you go, oh, let me move extra credit to the top. I want the students to see that. Pay attention to my cursor. Watch how it changes from an arrow to a little cross with the arrows going in all directions. We just want to come here and grab that and then drag it up. And whenever you see one of these bold lines appear, you can let go right there. And now we have moved extra credit up here. So it's very simple to drag and drop. That's not a problem whatsoever. Another question I want to address before I pause for a second to make sure I'm not using up too much of my time. People ask a lot about how do we do web conferencing, also known as like a live Zoom class and stuff in Brightspace. I know that in Blackboard, there was Blackboard Collaborate. The version that Brightspace had was called Bongo, and it had so many restrictions that most schools kind of felt like it really wasn't going to have the functionality that instructors would need, like a limit on how many students you could have and a limit on the time. So instead, we're going to be using Zoom, and all you would have to do is you can come in here to external learning tools. And for me, when I come in here, it shows Zoom Central Office because it knows my role is with Central Office. For you, it would list Zoom SPH, but then I can click on it and it just makes a link right down here at the bottom. It's very simple, nice and clean. There's still configurations happening, of course, still things that we're taking our time to be careful and get on top of to make sure that errors aren't made along the way. Something else I want to point out, if you would like to get a look at your course as a learner, if you come to the top right hand and you click on View as Learner, that is going to give you the view of your course as how a student would see it. I do want to pause for a minute and say this is not identical to replicating being a student inside Blackboard, where it lets you do your own discussion boards, turn in your own assignments, take your own quizzes. We are putting out like some fine-tuned details on our own version of that tool that will be available to you very shortly. I think it might even be at some of the schools already. It's just a matter of whether it's been turned on yet. It's called the Demo Student Tool. So that's not going to be something that you have to say goodbye to now that we're here in Brightspace. But overall, as I wrap up my little mini demonstration here, I just want to clarify that everything you're used to doing in Blackboard is here in Brightspace. You've got the option to do announcements. You've got assignments, discussion boards, and quizzes. You can come here and look at grades and see what's going on with your students. No FERPA violations here. I've got a bunch of pretend students in here. So it's really got a ton of functionality. And as Evan referenced earlier, it also has a lot of features that will support student engagement, strengthen your instructor presence, even in a fully online course, and perhaps most importantly, help us all be compliant with those new rules that came out last April from the DOJ for Title II ADA compliance. So lots of great things coming. You have tons of support here to help you learn. And I'm excited to see some of you in upcoming workshops. So let me pause for a second and just make sure I didn't go too far over time.
No, you're perfect, Laura. That was great. I'm glad that you showed the student view as well. I was going to ask if, that's always a great reference point for faculty when they're setting up their courses to see exactly what it looks like from the student's perspective, if they've made assignments available, so on and so forth.
Yep. So I do see some questions in the chat. Dee, do we want to start covering those now, or we want to wait a little bit later to the end for that? Because I can just answer those now if you've got more to cover at the moment.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Laura. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just going to answer some questions out loud for the moment. I see that there's a question about what is the Pulse app? Is that Brightspace on your phone? Yes, it is. It is largely geared for students more than instructors. I know that we were all aware from having been instructors in Blackboard that there were two versions of the app for Blackboard. There was the student Blackboard app and the instructor Blackboard app. So Pulse is really just meant for students. That doesn't mean that you can't access it yourself, but I would probably lean towards, honestly, just using, if you're on your phone, just accessing it through your web browser on your phone instead, so that you're less likely to be missing any of the instructor experience. So I would say that. What is the difference between the settings at the bottom, bottom at the top of the page and right below the bar? So let me take a peek here. I'm going to go back to do a screen share. So we said the settings, the person who asked the question, if you want to unmute yourself to ask me and get clarification, because I want to make sure I understand exactly what you're asking of that question.
Sure. Thank you. In the previous page,
okay,
you had the top that you show us about changing your personal profile and everything, but what about the one next to the print? This one I got it, but and I imagine that's for me as instructor, but I'm asking about the other, if you close that,
the gear,
this one below, next to the print
oh,
sign.
gotcha. Yeah, so this is settings related to this particular content in this situation. So you can see showing navigation and enabling HTML templates, those type of things. So most likely, I feel like for most instructors, that's a setting you wouldn't feel the need to do much with. You would probably just want to leave the default settings on that. There is, of course, obviously this up here at the top too, that's going to have some different things as well, like the media library. For example, every time you use a tool here in Brightspace that's called the video notes tool, and to show you what that looks like, let me come into something here. You have the option, let's see, we're going to do, actually, let me come into an assignment. You can create a video through the video notes tool and it will get saved in your media library. So let's just go here to, I'm going to edit an assignment. And let's pretend for a second, I want to put a video note as part of my instructions to my students. I might come in here, decide this is where I want the video note to go. On this box here, this little funny button that says insert stuff. If I click on that, we can see add video note. It's going to use our webcam on our computer to record us. So you can do yourself talking to your students. If you want to give audio instructions, you can also just click this button and it'll just have your voice. You can see it records up to 30 minutes of material. And whenever you create one of these video notes, it's going to automatically store itself in your media library, which is where I said when we're up here, we can come up to the top and you can see media libraries listed. So all of your video notes will also be backed up in your media library as well. I feel like I probably went extra far past your question, but Did that help to clarify things for you?
Yes, thank you. And related to that, we always have the issue about making the course available or not. Will that be there too?
That is a great question. Thank you for asking. So we remember in Blackboard, of course, there was the little padlock you would click on. This doesn't have like a little visual icon. So I will happily show you. You just come in here to course admin, wherever it is inside your course. And then you're going to look for course offering information. I do want to take a minute to show you when you come into course admin, it's possible this one will be toggled instead, which is just dividing all of these tools up by category. I'm not a super fan of that because half the time I can't remember what category I should be looking in. So I usually stick to name, just makes it easier because then it's just alphabetized. But to open up your course to your students, you would come to course offering information. And then when you scroll down, you will see about halfway down the page, if I look at my slidey bar over here, we see course is active. When this is a shell, meaning it is created through CUNY first by your students signing up to take your course. So it's not a practice site. It's not a sandbox. It is a shell with your students waiting for class to start. You would come in and find it not checked. So you would want to check it and then click save. And that is going to open your course up for your students. Make sense?
Thank you.
Sure.
I'll just quickly add, if I may, Laura, a lot of the features that we're setting up in terms of the availability will also be automated. So if you, I know that at SPH, we're accustomed to having to go in and then manually making our courses available to students every semester. And then as a result, sometimes we have student inquiries about when will my course be available? It's the first day, it's the second. So what we're going to do as we're setting up the environment right now for CUNY SPH, as I mentioned before, is that we are going to automate this process. So we are going to give our colleagues at CUNY all of our dates for semester start and end, and then basically work with them to automate courses becoming available to students and then unavailable at the end of the semester.
Sounds good. Let me stop for 1 second and just double check to see if there were more questions. Let's see. Does the sunset include Blackboard ACE? I think that might be a better question for Evan. Evan, did you want to address the question in the chat? Does the sunset include Blackboard ACE?
Yeah, yes, it does. So anyone who's in ACE that's using Blackboard, it's the same contractual challenge that Blackboard expires in December of 25. And so you'll need to work with Dee and her team on getting those courses moved over into Brightspace. The timeline will differ slightly in terms of ACE students getting access because we're currently integrating the ACE there's this new and for the first time student information system for ACE that's not CUNY first, but it's called Xenograde. And we're getting that tied into Brightspace, which will happen this semester. So as soon as that's ready, we can then begin to bring over data for your campus, for your school. And when you have access, you can then begin sort of bringing courses over through the export import process. It's really unfortunate we can't migrate these as part of the overall implementation because these are different versions of Blackboard, and there's a technical limitation in our ability to do that. So I think that's about what I'll say right now for ACE.
Hi, I have a quick question just to follow up on Louise's question. I'd like to open the folders, the week-by-week folders, one at a time. Your response, I think, dealt with the whole course availability to students. I want to be able to select week-by-week availability. Is that the same response?
You absolutely have the ability inside Brightspace to decide when you want students to access different modules or different parts of your course. Every step of the way, you have the opportunity to set up start dates and end dates is how they refer to it. So like, let's come in here to content in my little pretend course here. And let's say I didn't want students to work ahead. So they're supposed to be in week 1 right now, and I don't want them to go into week 2. I can come in here to week 2 at the very top here under the module where it says add dates and restrictions. I can choose to either add a start date where it won't be visible to the students until this day and time arrive. I can choose to add an end date if I want them to not be able to access it after a certain point anymore. Or they do have release conditions here. And release conditions, instead of relying on a certain date, it's relying on a certain behavior from the student. So you might say, I want them to turn in such and so assignment from module 1 before module 2 becomes apparent to them. So I might come in here and be like, they have to turn in week 1 cybersecurity in the workplace before module 2 will be apparent to them. So when I do that, well, it's telling me invalid date because I've been messing around with this a lot, but let me put these out of here. Okay, so at any rate, you can choose to have start or end dates, or you can choose to have release conditions, whatever makes more sense for your teaching practice, whether you want it to be tied into just calendar dates or activities that you would like the students to complete, including things like you need to score above a certain percentage on this quiz at the end of module 1 before module 2 appears. So there's lots of opportunities to customize the experience in your course for your students.
Okay.
Any more questions? I'm more than happy to point things out or show things to you. I know sometimes it feels like a fire hose all at once and it's a lot to take in, but please make sure you're catching me at upcoming workshops too. I'm all about helping people.
One quick question from me. Just I was looking at all the trainings that are available. It looks like there's a lot of, is there a starting place that you recommend? Like definitely go to this one, or I'm guessing it's the getting started training, but I get the differences between all the different names of them. Like what do you recommend if you were to rank them?
Yeah, I would say that getting started in Brightspace is definitely intended to be our jumping off point here. And you can see if I come back here, let's see, let me go back to the workshop button here. Okay, so when you come to the workshop button, which is on that LMS transition page that was already dropped in the chat as a link, you'll notice that there is a description of what's covered in each one of these. And I would say they're kind of listed in terms of like what makes sense in the order to attend them. So ABCs of content is sort of like building on that high level overview that you get with getting started in Brightspace. And then engaging learners is going to be kind of focusing on the different tools and features in Brightspace that help us connect to our students or our students to connect to each other, like discussion boards, the group tool. Assessing learning focuses on creating assignments and all those different settings. A little look at the quick eval tool, which is like Brightspace's version of needs grading from our Blackboard days. Quizzes and gradebook tend to be a little bit more in depth. There's a lot of settings to consider and configurations. So each one of those has their own hour. But again, if you feel like, well, I really don't know if I want to go to one of these workshops, totally understandable. Come hit up our YouTube channel because I want to show you what's really great about our YouTube channel. All of these videos are broken down by chapter. So if you're looking at like ABCs of content and you're thinking, well, yeah, I kind of think I want to see this, but I don't have time to watch 50 minutes right now. I hear that. So you click on that. And then right underneath the video, you see this little summary here. If you click on more, it will show you the breakdown of the different timestamps and the different chapters inside this video. If you're thinking like, I just want to learn about creating a practice site. Oh, great. It's right here. Cool, cool. So that's another option as well. I also have a couple of videos here in the list of videos that are kind of a little different. We have life cycle of an assignment and life cycle of a discussion board. I've kind of thought in my head many times, those titles may not be as intuitive as I thought they were. Just in a nutshell, life cycle of assignment means I show you in this 15-minute long video, creating an assignment as an instructor. Then I switch over to one of my pretend student test accounts to show you what it's like for a student to do that assignment, how they're going to see that. Then I switch back to being an instructor and I show you, oh, well, how do we grade that thing that somebody just turned in? And then lastly, we switch back to being that pretend student so that we see, oh, I got a grade, I got feedback. Let me see what that looks like. So it takes you through the whole life cycle of that assignment. I do the same thing here with a discussion board in this 17-minute long video, and both of these are broken down into chapters too. Previewing a quiz attempt and grading it, short video, literally just shows you a feature in Brightspace that lets you take your own quiz, but the score isn't going to like throw off the average for your students. That's not that kind of a thing, but just gives you the experience of taking your own quiz. And last but not least, the super short video, hiding the course address book and class list in case it matters in your course that you don't want your students to be able to email each other. Following the instructions in this video will help you reduce their ability to do that. So I do encourage you to kind of go to that page on workshops, check out the different topics and descriptions of what's covered, look at some of the days and times we're offering. And if you feel like that's really not working out for you, don't be shy about hitting up the YouTube channel, watching some of that, including with the timestamps, and then come meet me and ask me anything and let me help you with specific questions. So lots of ways to get on top of this. Hope that makes sense.
Laura, I do see one question in the chat about, so instructors will need to update the start dates for weekly materials manually every semester.
Yes, but there is a really great feature here in Brightspace that, let me get to it. Okay. So we're here in my little Brightspace course. And if I was going to come over here to course admin, I could look for something that says manage dates. And when I click on manage dates, I can then decide, okay, what are the things I put dates on in my class? Well, I don't want to worry about all right now. Let me get into specific tools. Let's see, I put dates on my assignments, I put dates on my discussion boards, and I put dates on my quizzes. So let me just worry about those for a minute. So I'm going to come down here, apply filter, which tells Brightspace we're just looking at those things. And then you'll see right here, assignment, discussion topic, quiz. They're all appearing here. You can come in and click on any of these things to change the date right there in the box. My favorite part though, that's going to be such a time saver, see this bulk offset dates? You can come up here, you can either individually click things you want to change the dates of, or my personal favorite, little box at the top, check that, and instantly everything is checked. And say, yeah, I want to offset my dates. Let's come in here. So we're going to do due dates, start dates, end dates, other activity dates. You've got offset by direction and range, which I still haven't figured out why you would need hours or to go backward, but it is an option. But this is the one that's really pretty great. Calculate range between two dates. So you can just come in here and click right in here and say, oh, well, the last time I taught this was last fall. So let's just say for pretend here, first day of last semester was the 26th. And I'm starting to teach it this spring. So I want to move them forward. And we're just throwing rough numbers out here. We're going to say January 27th. Look how it says dates will be offset forward by 154 days. And you just click save and it does all the work for you. It's still advisable to double check, of course, because sometimes there's holidays that pop up that change the dates, but it's largely going to be a big time saver to go to manage dates and bulk edit dates. Save you a lot of time. So I hope that helped. Let's see what else we got here.
I think Evan answered the question about Turnitin being part of Brightspace. Any other questions that anyone wants to unmute and ask? We have about 4 minutes left. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly share my screen as we wrap up. And just share with you a few more resources that we have available to you as that we mentioned. For any Brightspace related questions that you would like to send directly to the Office of Online Learning, please utilize the email address you see here, brightspace@sph.cuny.edu. And that way we really know that, you know, as we're continuing to support you, excuse me, in the spring semester and you're teaching still in Blackboard, we can sort of differentiate this as specifically for Brightspace related questions. If you're working with content that's been migrated over, access, any type of technical support issues. As I mentioned, the SPH Brightspace webpage is currently live and active. I believe that information was posted in the chat. Evan mentioned a toll-free number that's actually run by D2L, and it's dedicated for CUNY students, staff, faculty. It is available 24/7, 365. If you have any questions after hours, or just, there's an emergency and you need to put out that fire immediately, you can utilize that 800 number as a resource. We also mentioned the CUNY LMS transition website. And that also within every course, when you log into your Brightspace, there is a chat bot that also allows this. So if you don't want to pick up the phone and call, you can certainly activate the chat bot, start typing your questions, and you will get live support and assistance there. So that was our presentation. We have about 2 minutes left. Any last minute questions? As I mentioned, this is being recorded. We'll share it out with everyone. And I'm going to stop sharing at this point. Just go to the chat. Yes, you mentioned that the website's already available. Will this apply to the SPH? Yes, correct. So there's a SPH specific website for Brightspace and the CUNY LMS transition website as well. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. If there's no more questions, I really appreciate everyone. Evan, Laura, thank you so much for your time, and the demo, Laura, that was wonderful. Excellent. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank
Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Thank you.